Hey guys, are you interested in learning how professional property managers are navigating collecting rent and managing their tenants during these uncertain times of this virus? Hey guys, Brian here. This is my wife Debbie. She manages a portfolio of rental properties, and I'm just going to talk to her a little bit about what she's doing during these uncertain times. So just jump in right here. So things are changing rapidly right now. Day to day, it's just crazy. So right now we're shooting this video on Tuesday, March 31st. It'll probably all be different in a week or two, but right now it's Tuesday, March 31st, and we're just going to be talking. We'll update this video every, I don't know, whenever it makes sense, a couple times a month, maybe for the next few months or something. But I wanted to start with just asking you, how did you communicate with your tenants prior to April 1st, with knowing this April 1st rent is due here, regarding, the social distancing and, the requirements to pay rent and so forth. So how did you communicate them to your tenants prior to this?
Well, we sent two letters, one shortly after we found out about it because we weren't really sure what we were preparing for, but we were hearing rumors that we were all going to be sheltering in place. So the first letter just talked to them about how to keep safe during this outbreak with the social distancing, with the hand washing, staying out of crowded places and things like that. We also have asked them to only submit work orders for emergencies to protect our team members, and we informed them that most of our team would be working from home. The second letter that I sent with their invoices around the 21st of this month emphasized again that we were all working from home to take precautions for the COVID-19 outbreak, as well as that we're only going to address emergency work orders and what those specifically are. And then we also talked about April rent, and that for April rent, their payment is still expected on time. If they call us prior to their rent being due to let us know that they have been affected by the outbreak, then we will work with them on payment plans, waiving late fees, that sort of thing. But if we do not hear from them, then we will be following our normal procedure, sending it over to the attorney if they don't pay and we don't hear from them.
Well, you covered a lot of stuff in there, so I want to just kind of back it up just a little bit. So you sent out that letter talking about only doing like emergency maintenance issues. What kind of response did you get with that? Are they sending over less maintenance issues than prior, or is it pretty much business as usual?
No, the tenants have been very respectful of that request, and we truly are only receiving emergency requests such as sewer backups. Somebody's hot water heater went out, and she's in the medical profession, so she needs obviously hot water to be able to clean her clothes and shower. So they have been very good about only sending us over emergency work orders.
Awesome. How about right now, as we're doing this, it's March 31st. Sure, some of your tenants have probably lost their employment or their income stream since in the last couple weeks. Do you have anybody reaching out to you, just kind of proactively wanting to communicate with you?
Yeah, yesterday we did have 3 of our tenants notify us that they have lost their job as a result of that. And what I've done is I've started to get some resources together for them. So I sent each of them an email with links to how to apply for unemployment, links of resources through St. Louis County. There's about 19 different items on that resource page, as well as utility company information on programs that they have to help during this difficult time.
Awesome. Were they pretty receptive to that, or what kind of response did you get from that?
They appear to be receptive. I'm going to follow up with them in a couple days to see if they've had luck applying for unemployment. Also mentioned about the checks that they should be receiving from the government in about 3 weeks. And then we have a form that we're going to have them fill out with the accommodation request as well as what their payment plan will be.
Awesome. So here in St. Louis, I believe the county courthouse is closed for, do you know how long?
I don't know how long. We think it's probably closed till at least May 1st.
Okay, so about 30 days more. So last Friday, the government passed what they're calling the CARES Act, which is kind of a relief program or stimulus package, whatever it is. In there, there was some wording maybe about whether or not you can do evictions during this next period of time. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Right. There's a section called Section 4024, which talks about a moratorium on evictions for single-family properties, 1 to 4 units. But that's only for what they call covered properties. And my understanding is that a covered property is any government subsidized housing program, as well as any federally backed mortgage loans that are on that property. So those are considered covered properties.
So you talked about covered property. So I think if I'm understanding right, covered property is properties that have Section 8 tenants in it, and properties that have government banked loans on them. Like if you own a house and you have a loan that's guaranteed or has been sold to Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac.
That's my understanding.
So those type of houses, you cannot do an eviction for it. I believe it's 120 days. Does that sound right?
Might be.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I would double check.
If it's not one of those, if it's not Section 8 and you don't have a loan on it, or you have a loan with a local bank, are there any restrictions from your knowledge on whether or not you can do an eviction now?
No, to my knowledge, the only restriction is when the courts open back up. And my guess is there will be a backup in when the courts open back up. So our attorney is recommending that we file sooner rather than later if we need to. Now, of course, we're working with people who are affected by this outbreak. The ones that had been late prior to the outbreak or not communicating with us, those are the ones that we would pursue eviction on, as well as late fees and any other fees associated with that property. But we definitely want to work with tenants who are communicating with us and have been affected by this outbreak.
How big a deal do you think this is? Are you concerned about how much rent you're going to collect over the next month or two?
I am concerned about it because it's affecting a large amount of our population, which would include a lot of our tenants. So we'll just have to wait and see. And the expenses on the property don't end just because rent isn't coming in. So it's definitely a concern.
Well, talking about that, so I understand that people that have landlords that have a federally backed mortgage, like a Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac mortgage, they can ask for relief for it and not pay their mortgage payments for a few months. Have you guys thought about doing anything like that, or are you considering that?
Well, we're not considering that because we don't want to damage our relationships with our local banks, because our local banks who have the mortgages, they too have expenses that they need to cover. And if we're not paying our mortgage, then how are they going to pay their employees and their expenses? So we want to do our absolute best to meet our obligations to our local banks.
Yeah, and I think we're in good shape because we have plenty of reserves and stuff right now. We've had a rental portfolio for a long time. But if you are in that situation where you're deciding whether you have the money to, you're not getting the rent coming in and you have to decide, I don't know, make tough decisions, I definitely would give your local bank a call or your mortgage servicer a call and just ask for a reprieve for 2, 3, 4 months. I think you won't have any trouble getting it. Anything else you want to tell us about, or anything else going on in this period?
I don't think so. We're just trying to be careful for the houses we do have vacant, that we are being very careful with screening and keeping an eye on those properties. We have had a few tenants that are moving out at the end of April, or actually even in the next few days. So on those rehabs for the turnovers, we're trying to be mindful of those. It's also, most of the cities are not doing occupancy inspections right now, so we have to be mindful about that. So there's just a lot of different considerations that's going on right now.
And you got a couple of houses that are vacant right now, right?
Yes.
And are you getting showings? Are you getting applications?
We are getting showings and applications, but not too many that meet our rental qualifications.
So showings have been a little down.
On some properties. One property we lowered the rent to make it very appealing. We're getting a lot of showings, but not quality showings.
Okay. All right. Well, all good. I'll give you guys an update again, and whenever time makes sense. Fascinating times in the world, property management in single-family houses, multifamily houses. Please hit that subscribe button. I'd love to have some comments from you guys. So, having any trouble collecting your rent? Are you guys doing anything proactively to make sure that you are able to collect your rent? Or what kind of workout plans are you doing to make it work for you and for your tenants during these challenging times?